This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be with you again.
It is a wonderful day in the neighborhood, and we have a really interesting topic today. It is resisting help and working as a team. We feel like we have to do everything ourselves, that accepting help is a weakness, or that nobody does it as expertly as we do. So what is the greater awareness as consciousness? So stay tuned, because we're going to delve into this and the underlying cause and the new emerging paradigm is consciousness.
We got lots of things to look at, Joan. This is a good topic. I like this idea. So everyone, listeners, if you want to call in, 1-844-390-8255. That's 1-844-390-8255. Join us.
Yes, and here's an invitation to go deeper with us and to connect with us beyond the show. Our website is www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and there you can go and listen to all our past podcasts and interviews with great folks. You can also read our blogs. There, Janet puts hers out on Mondays, and I put my writings out on Fridays. You can learn about our meetups. We do meetups all through the Northwest. Janet does hers twice a week in Portland, and I do mine Seattle, Bellevue, University Place, in Tacoma, up here in the Washington State area. You can also find us on Facebook. Joan and Janet is on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can join the group and join the fun. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter account is @Joan and Janet. And I'm also pretty active on Twitter, and it's @Joan Newcomb on Twitter. Oh, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube. So Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet's on YouTube. And I am also on YouTube as Joan M. Newcomb on YouTube.
Lots of ways to join us, and we both do offer private sessions. So if that's one way you want to do it, we're always available. So give us a call and check out our websites, and let's see what the new year, 2017, we've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to look forward to, a lot of things to let go of, and here in Portland, we've been really weather hit, so we're kind of snowed in, rained in, and it leaves you a lot of time for introspection, which is good stuff. So
yes, yeah, you guys really have been slammed, and I'm so grateful that it didn't come up here.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It feels so special, definitely. We had in the last couple of weeks, we've had a state of emergency for the city of Portland by the mayor, by the governor, and we've had trucks come down from Seattle to help deal with snow. And for most of the world, I'm sure when they get hit with snow, they're built for it. But here we were not. We got hit unexpectedly with a tremendous, 11 inches more than predicted in 24 hours, and it just put everybody in a tizzy. So we're still kind of digging out from that. But so today we're going to, and so that's a great lead-in for help.
Yes, it is.
You know,
yes,
we're also self-sufficient, or we pride ourselves on being independent and self-sufficient. When the reality is that, you know, in consciousness work, Joan, we're always going by the standard that we are one, right? And so our setups and how we experience life is often compromise by what we think we're supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing you learn very quickly in any kind of disaster, certainly, is that you have to work together. And it's not that hard because we already are all one. So we've really been focusing on that in a community sense here. And how is it for each of us who pride ourselves on being able to take care of ourselves? And what is help? So that's what we look at today.
Yeah, and I was looking at the greater consciousness perspective, which is at one level, we are one. At one level, we are consciousness. And so it is us as consciousness, or ourselves as consciousness, creating this down to the smallest detail. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you in physical form are the only one and nobody else is real. It's not that the world is an illusion and so nobody else is real and I've got to do this all myself. The thing I am noticing as greater consciousness comes into the world is that there is a greater sense of unity among people and networking among different people and interconnectedness of people reaching out and working together. And I see that as each individual getting in touch with themselves as consciousness, that internal feeling of empowerment suddenly has you reaching out and connecting. So it's the opposite of hiding out in the woods, alone in your office behind your laptop kind of thing, in terms of the greater consciousness coming into the world.
Yeah, we look at life from both positions always. And in our day-to-day, when you are trying to get from this place to that place and do this and do that and realize, I'm sure people that have children have a different sense of community than those that are, on their own kind of thing, and the resources that are available. I think what you and I were noticing in looking at this was the state of receptivity that has to be present to make it easier on ourselves. And if we start to invite the world in, what that really means as consciousness and what softens in us and how that's really this evolutionary going to help this evolutionary leap that we're all witnessing in being more open and not closed off and not seeing that you're the only one with the problem, because that's silly. That's silly thinking.
So, my mind is going several different places at once. And the thing I also think about is in terms of accepting help is that a lot of times we'll create circumstances that force us to accept help. So there's so many people who are like workaholics and or high-powered business people, and they end up having a heart attack and they're in the hospital, or they're a mother with 12 children, and so they're used to doing it all themselves, and they create some serious illness that requires them to have medical help. And the frustration is that they feel like it's a weakness to allow for help, but the awareness I had is that, the doctor needs patients as much as the patients need the doctor. So it really is, it's a healing relationship on both sides. And, you're talking about community and children, and it's interesting because I know people who have children who are estranged from them. So they're having family like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're interconnected. And then on the other hand, you have children, and then you're tracking them when they're halfway around the world, so you never get any sleep.
And it's interesting, the thought that comes to mind is that the burden that's put on children, because we won't ask for help. So, and we obviously need it. So it's the older children that start taking care of the younger children, and we can put tremendous, and you and I both know a lot of people that have been burdened from an early age. And so they are the help. They are the answer. And so to ask for help is very foreign. And you and I know lots of energy workers and professional people and, caregiver types that don't have an easy way to to get support, and, we use the word help, but it's also about support. And what that's all about for us. So we need to maybe look at this, and let's do that from Heart Place here sometime soon, and really come to see what we find in there.
Yeah.
I like people. I want people to feel good about life, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because people do show up, and it's been interesting circumstances that require you to be quiet at times.
Yeah.
We are actually, we're getting really close to a commercial break, so why don't we go ahead and do that right now. We have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking about resisting help and working as a team in the state of grace.
Maybe we need to help Joan.
Yes, maybe so. The time adjusted today, so I adjusted our commercial breaks accordingly, but maybe we actually get 4 extra minutes. So in these 4 extra minutes, Janet, what words of wisdom have you got for us?
Yeah. So the thought that came up is how we resist help. And I think really, how do I put that in a positive way? How do I change the language on that to be accepting of help? And then I look at how that gets crunchy, and it's like, but I know as consciousness that there's no difference between you and me. So information just flows, and it's just me as little me who's going, when really there's no issue here. Information is available, and if it turns out that information shows up as a person, and how often does that happen? Just the right person shows up, right? Yes. So it's just being open. I think that's it. So how do we hold ourselves open and allow for flow of information? And then we take the whole conversation apart and just go, oh, okay, if I can allow for flow of information here, that would enhance where I am with this situation. What would that be like? So let's go for that.
Interesting point. It's like rejecting help because you had expectations of it showing up in a different form.
Oh, isn't that cool? Yeah.
It only can be this way, not this way, or from this kind of person, but not that kind of person. And then the words of wisdom shows up in completely different ways because as consciousness, you don't have any opinion or any right or wrong about how things show up or what you're manifesting. It just manifests, and it's all for the joy of manifesting. So it's for the joy of interacting with others, because as consciousness, we are all one. And in physical reality, it's the opposite. And we're here having the fun of the opposite.
Well, when I'm challenged about something and I'd like more information, it's a lack of information, right, of some sort. And I can feel my own self in the way of that. Like, well, I don't think that's possible. I don't think I can get help. I don't want help. I can just let the mind go, and it just gets bigger. If I just go back to, what would it be like if there was more information available? Then that allows it to show up in whatever form it might take. And I think that's that reframing that's really important to do. So, well, where are we at? We're here.
Last week, this is the time we would be going to a commercial break, so let's try that this week.
Let's see what happens.
Yes. So we have to stop for a commercial break. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. We're along here with Janet. And stay tuned because we will be talking about resisting help and working as a team in a state of grace right after these messages.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about resisting help and working as a team.
We're going to re-encode that to just being open to new informational flows. How about that?
Yeah, because otherwise it's like affirming the negative, and that's what you get.
Yeah. So, well, let's go to heart space and see what shows up here.
Oh, yeah, I love changing the conversation. Go to heart spaces like, what? There's no problem.
We can use all the help we can get here today. So, all right, everybody. So, wherever you might be in whatever time, place, or zone that might encompass, just the part of you that can track along, let's just see about relaxing and letting go, the part that can relax and let go with us. So, as we focus inward, that's all it really takes. So go to the first place of heart, and that'll be your physical heart. And that's a lovely thing. And be appreciative and grateful that it beats. It shows that you are alive. And it gives you a chance to just breathe and reconnect. There we go. Yeah. Feel all that blood pumping in and out, in and out. And then just let's notice the emotional terrain around it. Lots of things going on out there in the world to pay attention to. And notice that maybe things are a little easier than you thought they might be. So this isn't about thinking. This is about recognizing that change and shift is all around us and in us. So identify those emotions, or not. Just be aware. And then it's user-friendly. One way we do help ourselves is by paying attention to our emotional terrain. So this is inward work, and it can be very easy to not judge. Admit that you are an emotional creature. Revel in the fact that you have emotions, because they add flavors to life. They're not things to run from. They're things to be aware of and see how they motivate you. And we have lots of reasons to feel emotionally certain directions right now. So just pay attention. There we go. Oh, that's nice. Very nice, everyone. So the third meaning of heart, core, essence of all, where we are recognizing ourselves as consciousness. It's the infinite sea of potential, where you and I are one, where you and I are just photons of light, a little biophoton, a little biomass there, resonances, frequencies, vibrations, and then information. All the information. And all of this comes together in patterns. And it's those patterns that hold us in whatever they hold us in. If we don't judge it, if we just notice that information is organized in each of us, sometimes the same, often different, but we are all one in this state. And it just allows you to relax. There we go. See, there is ease in consciousness. There's tremendous energy. There's all kinds of different things. But as you allow yourself to let go of the patterns that keep you tied up, just ease a little bit. It's there. This is the most exciting time to be alive. Because anything's possible. So just notice. It's kind of nice and quiet out there on this level, Joan. I
am really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, this is a much more pleasant. It always feels like when you bring us into heart space, it just feels like we're on a rafting trip down this gentle, warm river, and we're all, holding Mai Tais and.
Yeah. Well, I think that's there's less having to get there sense about it, than when we started. We've been doing this show for a couple of years now. And it's really just, oh, there you are. It's just bringing that awareness to it. So I want to thank all of our listeners and all of those who are listening now and those that will be listening by podcast, is because you can really feel that that's not such an abrupt, shocking sense. So, Joan and I thank you for joining us on this journey, on our raft with the Mai Tai. So, there you go. Yeah, everybody's hands are just trailing in the water. I don't think we're in Alaska waters. I think we're in a little warmer waters.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. Sometimes rafting has a different connotation.
Yeah.
There's white water.
Yeah. Well, okay, if we look at life from this position now, what do you notice about the idea of help? Does it feel the same, Joan, or does it feel somewhat reframed?
It feels reframed in that there's different words come to mind, like cooperation.
Okay.
And intermingling, interconnectedness, I think I had said before. So on this level, there's a more harmonious sense of it. And it's not necessarily accepting, it's like allowing, I think.
Yeah. Well, I did hear a little bit of, but that's what I do for a living, is I help people. And what would I do if I didn't help people? And I think it depends upon how you hold that help. If you're there to save someone or fix someone, so often that's what gets tangled up in that. And what you're voicing is the part of where it's cooperation and you work together on something, and a different outcome can be possible because of this act of cooperation. It feels it's not so hard.
Yeah.
For those of us in the service industries of whatever kind they are, we're there because we've identified that we have something to offer. And the other person in that is saying, oh, I would like this. So it matches up well. And how do we as consciousness help the human in us? Is it something that's, or how does the human in us accept the consciousness? How do we help each other? What's that role all about, do you think?
Well, let me catch up to you, because I was reflecting on my early training as a spiritual teacher. And so the training was to have your energy be a half step above your students or the person you were healing or whatever. But there was an importance to have a distinction between you as the teacher, you as the healer, and the student or the healee, as they would say. And so when I would do psychic fairs, I didn't go out and get readings from other people. I was there to work. And it would kind of frustrate me because then I'd also have booths with students, and the students would all go, they'd go spend all their money on buying crystals and stuff, and they wouldn't be in the booth practicing the things they had learned. So I still have a real innate distinction between I'm the one providing the service and not, that's very interesting, and not receiving. But if I go back to the awareness, like, the patient needs the doctor as much as the doctor needs the patient. I mean, the doctor doesn't have a practice without patients. Right. It's like, we don't have a practice without clients. There's a beneficial interaction that's going on. And when we're looking at it from this level of consciousness, it is, it rises it up to a level of equality that in the old paradigm, one was higher than the other, half step above kind of thing than the other. You don't have the same paradigm, but you didn't have the same training or indoctrination that I had.
Well, I think that's a lot of, there's the expert, and where's the expert get help?
Yes.
Where does, I've been in those situations, known those clients, known those friends who are service geared, and they expect to have the answers. They don't go to others for the answers, and that can become a weakness. That becomes the burnout. That becomes the whatever, because there's no way they're more in a providing situation as opposed to receiving. So I think what I've come to appreciate in recognizing consciousness technologies and being more consciously aware of how I set up my world and stuff is that when I'm in a place of this state, for instance, of heart, there isn't those artificial constructs. We're all one. And it is equality. As you have value, I have value. We don't necessarily have the same value. That changes, right? Because we're in different roles in interaction. But there is I get out as much. See, that's a good doctor to me, for instance, who has all the technology and the expertise, and that's why I go to them. But they don't work for me if there's not a compassionate human being there. The information doesn't mean anything because it doesn't connect to me. That individual is not bringing that terminology and knowledge to me personally. It just kind of sits out there. And that person who says, "Oh, I get you," because you're me, to the degree that they are open, it makes a tremendous difference in how I accept the healing or the information or whatever the flow is about.
Yeah, I might be nitpicking or missing something, so let me explore what comes up. Because there is a thing that you acknowledge people as reflections of you, and you're in my reality because you're reflecting something back to me. And then at some other level you go, you are me. And somehow that's not working for me. Why is that? Because on this level of there being other people, there's differentiation. So you aren't me. You are you. You do have your differences. At the level of consciousness, we are one. And my experience in this is me as the essence of me, with you, the essence of you. So there gets to be a difference.
I think that's just the vehicle, right? Okay, there's a lot of information floating around here now.
There is.
Oh, we just launched something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about those distinctions, I think. How we organize information, how we think who we are, the roles that we play, the way we define ourselves. And I think what I'm noticing is that's kind of getting garbled up, which is great to me because that means something is shifting, right? Mm-hmm. And it can be quite chaotic in that. But I think people have, that's what's so exciting about right now. And it may not feel like excitement to other people, but for me,
might be terrifying.
Yes, it could be absolutely terrifying. I totally get that. Is that if we all took the time or had the skill level or the whatever we're all within ourselves to recognize ourselves as consciousness, how would that redefine us? How does it just blow everything open, right? It's not about, someone telling me who I am. It's about someone acknowledging that I am.
Right. What I was to touch base on the last thing you said and then to go what I was getting while you were talking, is, we just, at one level, we just need to be acknowledged as consciousness beyond our form. And the other thing I was seeing is that with greater consciousness in the world, it does kind of blow all the old separations out of the water. Mm-hmm. And what I was remembering, and I've shared this before on the show, is kind of a spiritual awakening that I had once out in Issaquah at a course with David Spangler. It was actually Duval, and I was at Mossford Hollow, and I was walking among the woods there and had this feeling of falling into love. It's like there was just this immense, overwhelming love, and I was a little bit scared at first because I thought I would lose myself, but as I fell into this, I was more myself than I'd ever been before in the midst of, so it's a real hard thing to explain. It's like more a sense of who I was in the midst of this big pool of love. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is happening more and more for people as greater consciousness comes in the world, is this simultaneously being a part of all that is in a way that we couldn't previously experience in our bodies. We had to, do LSD, or, people still think they have to do ayahuasca to have this kind of experience. And we can have both simultaneously. We don't lose our identity within this while being part of the bigger identity.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is we consciousness works with us to set our identity. And it's the unfolding that happens from taking a position. And so it's that sense of loss, if we encode it as a loss, when it's really an unfolding. When it's really, and I like the idea of unfolding because something is opening up.
So you said, I'm going to interrupt you here because you said consciousness works with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are us, right? It is us.
Well, so how would you personify that if you are consciousness working with yourself?
Well, let's see. I get to, consciousness is there originally, right?
And you are consciousness.
We are consciousness.
You are consciousness originally working with the self that you've created as Jan.
And this form, this matrix, this comes into being, right? So consciousness is still there. It's just the form now is more taken up with exploring and finding out stuff, but it's still being set by what is it that consciousness is playing with.
And you are consciousness.
Exactly.
It's being set by you, what you are playing with.
Right. So it's us.
With your personality, with your form.
But it's us, and realizing that's who we are is the journey. Right? And we're all at different places on that journey. So we're just looking to bring people into the awareness that, you are a consciousness, and what do you do?
Right. And if you change the language, it helps reawaken in people
Right.
a different way of seeing things. So I am consciousness. I have created this form. And it's the whole personality aspect is a really interesting personality aspect. And, playing with the reality in form and shifting the personality as things change. And I am consciousness creating this reality.
Right. And what does that mean? So we go through the experience of whatever that is. We have a sense
What
of
does it
loss,
feel
a
like?
sense of gain. Yeah. You have all kinds of different stages. I mean, illness is a wonderful way to kind of level
Yes.
the playing field. Right.
Yes.
And it gives you a time to regroup. And I've been kind of in that state here the last couple of weeks, definitely. And some of the stuff, we're so thought oriented. When it's really not about thinking, it's just about allowing yourself to disconnect from your daily mindless chatter that goes on. And it gives you a chance to reset. And when you do that, there's a difference. You can it's very graphic and it can play out really big, or it can be very, very subtle. And we're going to attach meaning to that experience. And I'm going to think about it in a certain way, and I'm going to call it something. And as soon as we do that, we're trying to grapple with things that just are, things that don't need my human interaction on it to happen. I just get kind of left to go, what does that mean? How do I notice that? And if you don't spend a lot of time at it, like you and I and people who do the kind of work we do, you might get kind of lost in your process. So we want to hold on to what we do. I mean, I've seen people, I've done it myself enough to know I would rather keep with the old because I know what that is. When the new is just this wonderful thing waiting if I would just allow myself to grab it.
Yeah.
But because it's different, I won't go there. I've gotten much better at it, I think, over the years. But
yeah, and this isn't like you were saying, this isn't a thinking thing. What I find when I use different language, it shifts the feeling within me. But your mind can't grasp this. And it's definitely that mind thinking part of you that wants to keep you safe and to keep things the same because that's what's safe to it. And what we're trying to explain to people is something that is outside the box, that is outside what our mind can conceive or understand. I think it's been so interesting because you talked about illness and that you are an eminently social person. You are a gatherer of people together. It is just in your nature to bring people in, and you are the consummate hostess. I mean, your house is so wonderful and creative looking, and, if I was in Portland, I would be there all the time. It is just, guys, if you're in Portland, you really got to go to one of her meetups because you create this wonderful environment. So it was so interesting that you got knocked over by whatever you've got, bronchitis or pneumonia or something, and snow. So it's like, well, you were still going to muddle through last week, and then this week it's like, well, now you're snowed in. Yeah. And I don't know what the third level listening of the military aircraft going overhead is about that. But so it's so interesting because you have created this time of inner reflection, which isn't your natural state. So you're having an opportunity to be more communing within the greater aspect of yourself within, if I'm making sense.
Well, I would, the one correction I would say to that is that I do spend a lot of time reflecting, in inner work. What's different this time is the outside influences and really looking to put those over there and go, okay, this is just me here, and cutting off those connections for a while, and not really cutting them off, just letting them go lax, and then just see what shows up for me. And I think that all of us, whether you call it a retreat or the lost weekend or whatever it might be, It's important to start from the place that it's okay if you can't label it. It's okay if I can't define it. It's okay. And if I just start from the place of acceptance that this is maybe bigger than the references I have and that I am a part of the whole, it takes the burden. And I guess I see a lot about this conversation is a lot about our sense of burdening and how it takes away from the sense of joy. It takes away from the sense of wonder. It takes away from the sense that life can be something other than a drudge when I don't have a burden to carry about it. And I think that's a mindset for a lot of us, and it's kind of, well, give me your burden. That's a lot about what help becomes. Give me your burden. And I don't want your burden.
And you can even see when it gets to that level, when you get into that something of a good or bad or negative, it's a burden. That is not consciousness. Mm-hmm. That's our mind, our personality, or however you want to call it, right. Viewing things through that lens of separation. Is really what it is. What divides and separates. Diversity is a good thing, but dividing is really what I was talking about.
I think it's re-encoding with our language. If we allow things to just be information, the specificity is so important in some contexts, and then other times it's a trap, and it's even in diagnosing something or calling something this. So often there's a freedom when you just say, it's stuff. Because then it doesn't have to fall into those reality mindsets that you or I or the collective out there hold about whatever it is that we're each experiencing. So it frees information to just flow. So, and that's what we say, it's light, photons, biophotons, information. If we take the attachment that goes to the next thought, to the next thought, to the next thought, that's all part of this thing, that's where magic happens. That's where that potential is lying. That's where information's just flowing, and I stick my hand out and someone grabs it. It pulls me up, or it allows me to move them towards me. And we just start to lose how hard things are. So there's no resisting in it.
That makes me sad.
That there's no resistance?
No, that the things aren't hard, that it's gone placid. But we're going to take a break and hopefully we can get some solidity back into it. So we just want to let you know that you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and we have to take a break now, but we'll be right back after these messages talking about resisting help and working as a team.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about resisting help and working as a team.
And you were mentioning, what did you say just before the break, that it made you sad? What was making you sad?
Oh, I was making a suggestive joke because you said something not being hard anymore, and I saw something being flaccid, and that made me sad.
Well, flaccid. Well, that was interesting. You said that word. I was like, flaccid.
Yes, you won't find those in your romance novels because flaccid really, ends the chapter. They would edit that part out.
Well, that's so different. I would have gone for soft, but you went for flaccid. And I went, hard, soft, flaccid. Yeah, I guess they're all kind of connected there. Yeah, what if things weren't hard, right? What if it wasn't hard to take a hand, ask for the hand? Okay, so there's that other part we never even mentioned. It's about asking. How easy is it to ask? How easy is it to verbalize that you need help? Yeah.
That's, and that actually comes in when you're working as an entrepreneur. There's several stumbling blocks, and the first one is that you don't ask for the sale, so you don't get any clients. And then the second one is that you don't get help, so you stay being like a mom and pop organization or a solopreneur for way too long and get stuck doing all the bells and whistles and nuts and bolts. And, I do my own web pages. I love to do my web pages, and that doesn't allow you to expand because then you're avoiding reaching out to people, doing what you're here for, which is to serve people. So that's kind of close to what you're about, reaching out, accepting help, asking for help, but also asking for engagement. People, women have this problem a lot in that they don't ask for the raise or they don't ask for the salary, so it affects their lifelong earning ability. And somehow that's all about, not just help, but support and appreciation. So it's accepting and allowing help, and it's accepting and allowing teamwork because people will show up doing things differently than you do, and it actually expands your awareness of how to do things. It expands your universe. Working with people expands your universe.
It doesn't have to be a loss of something. And being able to ask for help, we've made that what it is, and I think it's a stumbling block. So what it would be like, everyone, to just relax and realize that it wasn't about you as a person or you as this or you as that, but it was just consciousness expressing itself. Go to that part and just allow consciousness to say, if I could do that, what would that be like? But that's really what consciousness is about. And what it would be like to have a different experience. And just be free to allow for the flow of information. That seems a lot softer, John.
Oh, I really like that. I really like what you just did because suddenly I feel this very tingly feeling, and I can sense the interconnectedness of everyone, and how working as a team can happen on an unseen level as well.
Yeah, definitely. Some of us were probably more easy about accepting unseen help than real help. That's not a judgment, okay? It's supposed, when I use that word, real help.
Well, in-body help versus out-of-body help.
Yeah, there you go.
You're actually touching base on a course that I had, I'm going to be launching in February.
That's right.
I was taking this month to sort of rework it. And you helped me realize a core component of it. So it's really Accessing Unseen Help is the name of the course. And it is an upgrade from working with healing guides and devas. And one of the upgrades is when you work as consciousness, it levels the playing field, and you have your own sense of you have your own sense of seniority and ownership when you're working with these beings. So it's not that they are above you, but it is a teamwork. It's a teamwork, and they can also help you achieve so many more things.
Totally. Well, it does come to mind real quick because I know we're moving here. So often, desperation is not pretty. Doesn't feel good. It doesn't, it may feel good in the sense of, oh, I can help them and save them. But the person who's driven to a place of desperation is not going to feel good. So what I would offer people is, what if you had a sensory system that could just operate before you go to that place? Because so often that's where people wind up going before they'll ask for help or do something or change. So what if it's just you have awareness, and we bring it into play that when something's challenging and you notice it the first time, it's kind of like symptoms, right? When you get sick, how often did we ignore something till it got crisis point? So this is what I'm just talking about. It's just developing awareness that at this point, okay, way back there, I could see that if I had done something different there, then this never would have played. So we play with time always. We do play with parallel universes always. So just, if something comes to mind, just move it back to where it could have been different and see what happens. So.
Ooh, describe that. We're actually sliding into home here. So
yeah,
let's let that be a topic for a future show.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can remember what you just said. We'll expand upon that.
Yeah.
Well, because that's a really subtle thing about creating, and let's carry on this discussion in an expanded form next week.
Okay, we can do that.
All right. So really quick, go deeper with us, connect beyond the show. Our website is ConsciousConversationsWithJoanandJanet.com. You can catch all our previous podcasts. You can get notifications of upcoming shows. You can access our individual websites. You can access our blogs. We post our blogs there. You can also find out about our meetups. Janet's in Portland a couple times a week. My next meetup is in University Place on Thursday, the 26th of January. And then I'm doing a special one on Mercer Island on the 29th of January. 2017 is the year of realization. What are you going to manifest? So that is coming up, and that I also do have Bellevue scheduled for February 5th and Seattle scheduled for February 12th. So those are going to be posted very soon. And you can also access us on Facebook. You can access Janet and I directly about our sessions. We offer sessions through phone and Skype. And the show is on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. So join the group, join the fun. And the show is on Twitter at Joan and Janet. I'm on Twitter at Joan Newcomb, and you can find us on Facebook, not Facebook, the other one, YouTube. You can find us on YouTube, and I post my YouTube videos on our website as well. Anything else to add, Janet, as we're sliding into home?
I just want to let everyone know on Facebook and LinkedIn, I haven't been putting out any consciousness cookies. for the last couple of weeks. So I don't think I've been too conscious. So thanks for hanging in there. Check in next week, and we'll be back up and running, I hope so. And we're going to do group tomorrow. If Portland holds out, we should be able to have a good time to meet. People have been waiting for us to meet again. So I know everybody's in a good place. So thank you so very much, everyone.
Yeah, so go to meetup.com and look for Conscious Conversations with Janet, and you can sign up for her thing there. All right. Well, you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan.
And I'm Janet. And thank you all so very much.
Thank you all for helping to co-create the show, and tune in next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.